What's going on, guys? This is Martyrs Brigade 99 coming to you once again with another session of Dark Souls PvP. Alright guys, we're back at it and we're still in the forest, but the only difference is this time we won't be doing any ganker hunting. As I've kind of explained plenty of times in the past, that if you want to improve on your Dark Souls skills, so-called skills for, kind of lack of better words, then you might want to go ahead and take the time to participate in 1v1s. If you want to simply have fun, go ahead and do a lot of random invasions. And actually, I've had a lot of fun after, the last few weeks. And you guys should be able to tell out of all of the random invading. Well, it's kind of like random invasions. I mean, I still consider it random, even though it's ganker hunting, because, you still don't know what you're going to face. In some cases, you may be pitted against a lone host. In other cases, you may be pitted against a host and a phantom. And in an extreme case, is you versus 3 people. Right? So, I'm going to kind of take a break from that because I really need to improve my gameplay. I've argued plenty of times in the past that I consider myself to basically be an average player. And the reason why I say that is because I really have a lot of things to learn. I'm familiar with some of the basic skills, but there are a lot of the quote-unquote pros out there that use tactics and techniques that I have yet to become proficient in. So, I figured I'd just start taking a little time to improve in some of these basic techniques. Now, this is going to be a multi-part video series titled Starting from Scratch. And first and foremost, I'd like to give a shout out to good old Sage of Toads. And actually, I was visiting a Twitch stream, and he just so happened to be there. And aside from that particular situation where he was already in the Twitch stream, he had been leaving me messages in the past saying, hey dude, I want to fight you, hey dude, I want to fight you. And after some time, I added him on as a friend on my PSN, but we never had an opportunity to match up with each other. So, I guess by the luck of the draw, I just so happened to visit a Twitch stream that he was there. So he's like, hey dude, let's just go have some matches. And actually this guy, he's got a pretty rockin' build. And if he had time, I probably would have asked him if he wanted to spend more time to do a battle of the builds, because I think it's pretty cool. Think about it. He's using a buff dagger, and he's using pyromancy, and a couple other things, a few other tricks he's got up his sleeve, and his combinations are pretty good. If you're not really paying attention to what he's doing, he can really throw you off your square and catch you off guard with a lot of good combinations, and I thought that it was a pretty good build. So Sage, if you're out there watching the video, I don't think we're in the same time zone. I can't really remember. But, in the event that you are kind of interested, hey, bring this same build on to a Battle of the Build series. I'm pretty sure some of these guys will enjoy it as much as I did during the time that, we had these matches. I think it's a cool build. He's got the Wrath of Gods, he's got the Pyro, he's got a dagger, he's got the Claymores, he's got everything going on. And I think it's pretty original because you really don't see a lot of people playing like this. He's kind of pulling out all the stops. So I think it would definitely be a good candidate. Now, I went on ahead and exploited that BS right there. Now, for a lot of my critics, they like to argue that I'm a backstab fisher. I've said this plenty of times, and you guys, I think this will actually be a perfect opportunity to go ahead and check out a more ideal situation. When I'm in a forest and you face against 2 people, you need to do whatever you need to do to get rid of those guys. Whereas in 1v1s, you have more time to practice, excuse me, and hone in on your basic techniques. So this is what you guys get to check out. Me working on my basic techniques, because basically this is a learning process for me, and this is why I call this multi-part video series Starting from Scratch, because I'm pretty sure you guys are aware that just recently here the developers released a 12-minute, well actually it wasn't the developers, I guess it was IGN, I guess that's more appropriate to say, but IGN released a 12-minute Dark Souls 2 demonstration. and it had two representatives there kind of talking about it and kind of walking the host through the footage that they were showcasing. And in that footage, they showcased the potential for dual wielding. Now, there have been a lot of guys in the past who have made the argument that, you know, dual wielding is not viable in Dark Souls, which I would argue that it is. I would just argue that you need to take the time to practice and do it. So seeing that that potential is there, in addition to some other things, I think this is kind of like the best opportunity for me to hone in on not only the basic skills and the basic techniques in the original Dark Souls, but also with dual wielding. Because in other words, since we still have, according to what I've read, the game is still at 25% development. So since we still have a while to go, I mean, why not try to hone in on some of these techniques and tactics while it's not here yet? So by the time Dark Souls 2 is released, hopefully it can make dual wielding all the more easier. Alright, so this is why I'm saying starting from scratch. I'm going to kind of let go of my comfort zone, which is using the shield, because it is definitely a comfort for me, because, I mean, you don't really realize how much you depend on the shield until you go without one. And this dual wielding is definitely difficult for me, because number one, I'm having a hard time with the parries. Now, for a lot of you pros out there that just really have an answer for everything, some of you guys may argue, well, I mean, I don't see why parrying would be, you know, a problem because the parry times are the same. Okay, Hotshot, once again, I'm not a pro. I've never professed to be a pro, and I will never say that I'm a pro. I'm an average player. So, whereas the pros will say that everything is easy, and, you know, there's no challenge to doing anything, I won't say that. It's difficult for me, and here's why. To the extent that you guys are familiar with the channel, you guys would know that I don't parry the air. Right? I can't stand the run-up parry method where you just basically, you know, after every second or two, you just run up to your opponent and hit the parry button. I don't do that. In my personal opinion, it looks noobish, and it basically just looks like you're fishing for something, but you're not really confident on the patterns that your opponent has established. So I don't like that, you know, parry the air or run-up parry method. Which is why, in a lot of cases, if you watch some of my material, the vast majority of the time that I throw out a parry, I land it. And the reason why I land them is because I look for patterns. And I'm not comfortable with throwing out parries until I see an established pattern. Now, having a shield makes that a lot easier. And the reason why it makes it easier is because you have the comfort of blocking with the shield. Whereas with an offhand weapon, you don't have the comfort. So just like right there, I don't know if you guys noticed it. He was trying for a parry, but he's just sitting there hitting the parry button over and over. Now, this is not saying anything against any tactics that anyone has. I'm talking about my own tactics, and I was just illustrating an example by looking at what my opponent was doing. A lot of people have their own tactics, a lot of people have their own tastes, and a lot of people have their own aims and goals for improving in Dark Souls. So I'm basically articulating mine. I want to get to a point to where I'm not only comfortable with dual wielding, but I'm also comfortable with parrying. And with me not having the comfort of being able to do setup parries, or the comfort and protection that comes with holding a shield, it's kind of a task. Because if you guys would notice, I don't really throw that many parries out. I don't attempt them. Number one, because I'm trying to hone in on the basic skills of dual wielding. Because these are just basic. Now, I know a lot of you pros out there, you have a lot more experience than me, but this is why, like I said before, this multi-part series will be titled Starting from Scratch, because this is something new. Right? I've noticed a lot of players out there who've been able to be good at dual wielding, but me myself, I don't know, having that shield was, I don't know, I was always comfortable with having a shield, so it's just kind of difficult. Now, another thing that I will say, one thing that you guys will notice about my gameplay with regard to this multi-part series, one of the pet peeves that I have is to play against people who are super duper defensive. That is one of my biggest pet peeves. The reason why I say that is because you're not learning anything when you're playing against someone who's super duper defensive. And in a lot of cases, these people who are extremely defensive is because they're worried about losing. Right? So when you notice my gameplay, win, lose, or draw, I'm going to always engage. Right? And the reason why I always engage is because I don't really care about winning. Yes, winning feels good. But do I care about winning? No. I'm more focused on improving my tactics than having what you might call a high kill death ratio. Because the thing is, guys, this is not Call of Duty. This is not a first person shooter when you know, kind of where you measure your so-called ability to play by how often you win or how often you lose. This is not one of those type of games. You should focus, especially if you're really into PvP like I am, your focus should be on improving tactics, whether you win or you lose, for a very logical reason. No one is going to win all the time. No one is perfect, especially if you're an average guy like me. Now, some of these hot shots, you know, they go on their streaks and they pride themselves behind having those streaks. Me, I don't really care about a streak. I care about improving my tactics. And as long as I am happy with my performance, that's all that counts, right? I don't have any egos going on. I don't have anything to prove. You know, a lot of those guys, especially when I'm in chats or if I'm just kind of, I mean, like I said, which is rare because I've pretty much shied away from those things. But even during the times that I'm there, I don't have any ego going on. I just want to, you know, enjoy myself like everybody else. I want to compete and, you know, familiarize myself with some of the people within the community, which is one of the reasons why I tend to shy back and just disappear once I start seeing these egos coming, because a community shouldn't really have egos, in my personal opinion, because if you have a common bond, you have something in common that you all like, then you guys should all enjoy it. Now, this is not to say that you should never disagree. This is not to say that. But what I am saying is when you have a sense of community, then you can disagree and, you know, without falling out in odds with somebody. Right? But, you know, in some communities, these egos are so strong, it's kind of like if they disagree with you, I mean, they'll just start launching all type of unwanted and unnecessary attacks. And that's what I tend to stay away from. So that's why lately, I mean, I just pretty much stay to myself. You know, I'm not as involved in some of these quote-unquote communities as I used to be. You know, but hey, it is what it is. Those guys are still doing good things. So, I just so happened to be in the forest where a lot of guys were here. So that's basically what you're saying. Shout out to good old Hell Servant. He was here. Carne was here. He's another live streamer. And he has a YouTube channel. So shout out to both of those guys. And I just so happened to get my share in on some of those matches. So I've been kind of dedicated, I don't know, probably about a week so far into this play style. And so far I like it. Like I said, it's a bit of a challenge because I'm so used to having that shield that, you know, I'm not really used to being as evasive as I have. Right? Just like right now. This guy is using a halberd. Right? Now, I pretty much know what most people do when they use a halberd. Just like right there. I knew he was going to spam that R1. But see, the thing is, with me not having a shield, I don't have the comfort of saying, okay, I'm going to go ahead and parry this guy. And see, you guys noticed that timing was off. I have to get the timing right on pairing with offhand weapons. Now, like I said before, I know a lot of you pros will say, hey, it's no different and all that other stuff. Yeah, that's fine. But like I said, that's the difference between me and you pros. I don't have an answer for everything. I'm still in the learning process. And I don't have a problem with admitting that. Right? So, there's going to be a lot of failures with regard to my parry attempts, and you know, but I don't really have a problem because, like I said, my focus is not winning. My focus is getting better. So as time go on, and I am get more dual wielding practice, I will slowly start getting more and more comfortable with pairing these attacks. Alright, so I got lucky right there because I thought I was going to get hit with that two-handed R2 dome shot, because even though the beam wasn't aimed at me, there's a dome that can still give you area effect damage. Alright, GG right there, and shout out to good old Bruno. That's Bruno Skate. He showcased a gargoyle build not too long ago, so there's a shout out to good old Bruno. Alright, so what do we have here? And now let's talk weapon combinations. So far, with this little experimentation of dual wielding that I've been doing, I've been using a lot of the Scimitar, Falcon, Fury Sword, the Standard Scythe, Claymore, Flamberg, Zweihander. But there's a few other weapons that I want to go ahead and experiment with. Alright, namely the large club. I want to go ahead and experiment with my dual wielding with that. Perhaps some Server, Gravelord, or Murakumo. And the reason why I say or is because basically all those three have the same attack styles for the most part, all except the Gravelord R2. But the Server and the Murakumo, basically the same thing. Only difference is the length of the weapon, and you know, there's a difference in 2 units of weight. But that's about it. Everything else is pretty much the same when you compare the Murakumo to the Server. So I might go ahead and try to integrate some of those. But other than that, I don't know. I think I might also want to experiment a little bit with some of the strength weapons. But I'm just trying to think of what kind of offhand weapon I can use as a strength weapon. So I don't know. Maybe I'll just, once I get a little more comfortable with this dual wielding quality build, perhaps I'll do a little experimentation dual wielding with strength builds. Now, that will be a lot more difficult in my opinion for a very obvious reason. Number one, those strength weapons are pretty heavy, right? So when you're dual wielding, you really have to consider armor choices and, you know, weapon choices. Now, why would I say that you have to, keep those things in mind? Well, basically, you can't carry an infinite load unless you have a Havel's ring, right? And as you guys can see by the icons that I have, I'm not even using a Havel's ring. I'm just using a Ring of Favor and Protection, and I'm using a Wolf ring. Now, for a lot of you guys that always ask about stats, nothing special about this build. It's just a basic 28-40 build. I have 45 in Vitality, like in all my builds. 28 strength, 40 dexterity, and the rest was dumped into endurance. Right, so I think I have like, I don't know, 52, 55, 57, somewhere around there. Just under 60. I think it's like 57 endurance. I can't really remember, but my build is soul level 125. Alright, so now the funny thing is, shout out to Dom. Dom basically published a mule for everyone to take advantage of, especially the PvPers, because one of the problems that a lot of us guys had with PvP is that when you PvP as often as us, right, and you don't focus on PvE, you know, we want to make builds a lot. We want to do a lot of experimentation with builds. And this is whether you're an experienced player or you are a player that's basically new to Dark Souls. You know, after you've played this game a number of times, you know, you beat it 5, 6, 7 times, you know, you have 200-300 hours on it. In some cases, 9 or 1,000 hours. Well, actually, you can't even have 1,000 hours. But even if you have a lot of hours invested and you say, you know what, I love the game, I love PvE, but it's time for me to go ahead and venture into PvP. You want to start experimenting with builds. And in some of the cases, you know, without having a way to create builds fast, you're basically going to be stuck in a situation where you spend like 5 hours to create a build just to find out that perhaps there's some tweaking that you need to do. Right? Because some of you people will argue, Well, I don't know why you would make a mistake because we have a Mugen monkey. Okay, but that's just a draft. But just because something looks good on a Mugen monkey template doesn't mean that it will be good once you use it. And anyone that experiment with builds will tell you that. You know, there's been plenty of builds that I've put together on a draft, and I said, you know what, I think that build's going to be viable. But once I use it, I'm like, you know what, I need to change this. I don't need that much endurance, or maybe I need more strength. Maybe I didn't need that much vitality. There's a lot of things that go into creating builds. So once they patched the bottomless box glitch and the dragon head fast leveling glitch, that basically put a lot of us at a handicap because we were stuck with either creating a lot of builds from scratch or basically just using the same old builds that we've all had. So, like I said before, thanks to Dom, he went on ahead and shared a mule for all of us to use, especially for the guys that like to create builds. So, because of that, I have like, what, 4 accounts? I have my main Martyrs Brigade 99 account. And then I have a Martyrs Brigade with no 99. And then I have 2 alternates that has nothing to do with a Martyrs or a Brigade. It's just some random names that I put together. Right, so the funny thing about it is, when I was in the Berg, which is rare, because, you know, I've had a lot of guys say, holy crap, you're in the Berg? You know, because I'm like never in the Berg. Usually I'm doing random invasions or doing forest hunting. So when I was there, the funny thing about it is, I'll get all these guys sending me messages, you know, calling me a fanboy. Okay, first off, see, here's one of the reasons why I hate the Darkwood Grain Ring. Did you guys see how this dude is just floating through these attacks? Come on, dude. See, that's why I hate the Darkwood Grain Ring right there. There was no possible way. That guy was right there in my face. He missed like 4 attacks. That's the main reason why I hate that Darkwood Grain Ring. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So guys would send me messages calling me fanboy and you forgot the 99 and you're not a Martyrs, you're not this and you're not that. And it was just funny, you know, I almost never send anyone replies, but I just thought it was funny. I'm like, wow, these guys are kind of funny. Even some of the guys on the streams. I remember one of these days, as a matter of fact, I think it was this day in particular, when I was, I think I was kind of talking to Carne and Hales and a couple other guys. And, you know, they were kind of like, there's a fake Martyrs around here, you know. And I'm thinking like, dude, it's me. But, you know, the guys on PS3 are so used to me having the 99 that anything different, I guess they just didn't believe it was me. But like I said before, thanks to Dom, I've taken advantage of the mule. And I have additional accounts. Right? So, like I said before, I have Martyrs Brigade 99, and then I have Martyrs Brigade. I have the other alternate accounts that I have nothing to do with the Martyrs or Brigade. So if you see someone that has Martyrs something or Brigade something, and it is not Martyrs Brigade or Martyrs Brigade 99, that's not me. Right? Not that it really matters, but I know that a lot of times guys will send me messages. So I just like to clear that up for some of you guys that may have seen me in the Berg. Alright, so we get a quick interruption by that ridiculous Stone Knight. And, you know, initially I'm like, why did that dude go over there? But, I mean, you can't really blame him because I really should have killed him. So, whatever. Had a brief pause, brief interruption, but we're back at it. And I think this is Oxycontin. I know a lot of these guys that... thanks to Dom's mule, have created some alternate accounts. And I think this is Oxycontin. I know I did a video against him back in the past during the 1.05 days. I think it was titled something Oxy RX, and I think I was using like my Black Iron build when I was using my... You guys notice that? See? You guys notice that? I had a hard time with that parry. Now, one good thing about dual wielding, it challenges me to get a lot more practice on my toggle escape, because I don't know if you guys noticed that. You might want to rewind just to check that out. He stun locked me and I was able to escape. I try to parry real quick, wherein if I was using the buckler, I probably would have caught him with it. But because I'm still trying to gauge the timing with my offhand weapon, I missed it. Right, so that was just another classic example of, when it comes to trying something new, practice practice makes perfect. All right, so this is another reason why I'm calling this multi-part series starting from scratch. Right, because I'm basically trying a new tactic that I'm having a hard time with. But it's all good, because like I said, when the focus is on trying to improve, it doesn't really matter if you have a hard time, right? Because anything that's worth having, is going to be worth working for. So if I want to be a proficient at dual wielding, hey, that's the cost of business. You're going to have to go ahead and take some losses. All right. Now, I don't know how he was able to escape out of those. Now, some of these matches between, you guys just noticed that? I hit him, but he didn't take damage until like a second or two later. There's a little lag between me and good old Sage, but okay, I don't know how he hit me with that. And I'm starting to think he only hit me with that because I was in the middle of a rolling animation. I remember, shout out to Aliti. I remember he was talking about that once in the past. He was saying something about taking damage in the middle of a roll. And I think that was one of the examples, because on my screen, it looked like I was like way off from taking damage on that hit. But hey, it is. It's the cost of business. Alright, so this is basically the last clip. And like I said before, Sage, if you're checking out this video and listening to the commentary, maybe one of these days when you're not really doing anything, we can do a series, because I really enjoy this build. I think it's pretty unique and very creative, and I think a lot of other people will agree. You guys notice how he's doing those combinations? That's a groovy build. Now, if you guys notice, just like right there, I hit him, but he was still able to run before he took damage. So there's a little bit of lag between us, but at the end of the day, I still think that build would be a nice one to showcase for everyone to enjoy. Alright guys, well, this is the end of part 1. I hope you guys enjoyed it. So until next time, Martyrs Brigade is out.